going to be a deep one. And so I'll let you think about it for a little bit. But when you're looking at proposed parameters for the hatch, just the hatch, which metrics will influence your decision on what set of parameters to choose? So let me give some background here. Not all the parameters that we were talking about in the hatch thread are actually going to be part of the first phase. The parameters that are going to be part of the first phase are going to be the C-stack ratio, the hatch price, the min and max goal, the impact hours slope and rate, the hatch time limit, like how long should the hatch be, and also the dandelion parameters, like when we want to upgrade, what support does it take, what quorum does it take, how much time will it take based off these things. So those are the parameters that we're going to have to choose as a community. So my question is, what metrics are really important that you're going to look at when you're looking at the different parameter choices? So to model, for me, the big questions are around like min goal and connecting that to the sense making we have around the hatchers, like how much they're actually the soft commitments, and making sure that it's reasonable. Also, probably very curious about like the time, like how long the hatch will be, plus how long will it take to upgrade with the voting time. So like the minimum amount of time that we can go from starting the hatch to like upgrading to the bonding curve is going to be a metric that I'm curious to hear. And then impact hours, cultural tribute will also help me when I'm looking at these things. I'll pass it to Sam.
I think all parameters are going to be important, but I also agree that the minimum goal is going to be an important one in which we build the rest of the parameters around it. For example, in order to, because it's more or less, if we reach that, we are okay. If we don't reach that, we fail. And around that, we can also think on how much reward we give to impact hours. All the rest can come from this one. I am going to pass it to Livia.
Thanks, Sam. I think for me, the most important is having a cohesion between all the parameters. So independent of how they are set, that we take in consideration this equilibria of the final result. And I'll pass to Santi.
I agree with Livia, and I think we of course minimum is probably one of the most critical, minimum cap, but I think we have to try to play with all the tools that we have. We'll be communicating, and time is going to be also a very important variable, and some minor things which sometimes may help. Like for instance, when I look at CSTK ratio or hatching phase price, usually, and that's just human being, when you get more, you feel that you're getting more. I mean, if we increase the total amount and we are able to purchase more tokens for every CSTK token, it's not the same getting two for getting a 2 ratio than getting a 10 ratio. And if you keep the variables at the same level, you're getting the same outcome, but from the mind setting of people, it's like they're getting more. You know, I'm getting 10. I'm getting the chance to purchase 10 instead of the chance to purchase 2. And those are little things that sometimes help. And we gotta also think on those terms. Okay, I'll pass it to Jake.
Thanks, Sandy. Having taken part in all these forum posts has given me a real better idea of the intricacy of how all this works. And given the circumstance, really the trusted seed, the turnout, the max ratio, how important that minimum goal is to reach before any of this to even actually work. I mean, otherwise we're just going to have failed hatches. So all of the other things don't even matter. You know, we have to have successful hatches in order to get further along anyways and understanding different variables. You know, learning more about the alpha half-life and like how we can create better hatches if we have the turnout, you know, that's really, really cool. But yeah, it's in the very beginning. It's having enough staked tokens with the trusted seed and having you know, a realistic minimum goal for like whatever they're asking for, of course, from that in that high support and all of that. That's really where I'm at. I just want to see these succeed in the beginning so we actually have something to go off of. It would suck to like have 1 or 2 work and then like 3 or 4 fail, you know, because then we're not really learning what we really need to do besides obviously have more stake tokens. That's where I'm at. I'll pass it to Tonga.
Hello, can you hear me? Because I'm on the phone. I don't know. Yes? Okay. So I'm really not that worried about the parameters. I'm more worried about the multi-sig because the parameter. I know this is not the call for discussing that, but since we are getting close to the investment, the hatch and that part, I think all the parameters, even if we pick the best, if the multi-sig is not clear, it's like the multi-sig can do anything, or I don't know what can do or what it can't do, but I would like to work more on that because I'm also asking friends that could possibly invest, but if I don't feel sure, I won't be able to transmit security for them to invest. So I wanted to know if we could some other day or schedule a session for discussing about the multi-sig and that stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's very important intuition that if we are discussing the parameters, but then the DAO is doing something else, what we are doing. And regarding the multi-sigs, we still don't know what kind of multi-sigs we are going to have. But they will only be able to pause the smart contracts in case there is a book. But it's just let's pause it during 2 weeks, and they cannot do anything else. That's the thing that because it's having a multi-sig with a lot of power doesn't have any sense. The idea is to pause, and then it's the dandelion voting with 2 weeks or whatever it takes, 1 week, whatever we decide, is dandelion voting, which can upgrade the smart contracts or do whatever else, or even remove that multi-sig and resume the operation. That's the idea that we have regarding multi-sigs, because we need in some way to pause if there is. Imagine there is a book in the smart contracts, and we see how the vault is being is emptied, and we cannot do anything because in order to do something, we have to wait for a dandelion voting to pass. It's something that it has happened in the past. We don't want that situation, but we don't want either a situation in which the multisig can do, I don't know, can do that. And so the idea is just the multisig just pauses it, and it has the power to pause, but the dandelion voting also has the power to remove that multisig. So the power keeps in the Dandelion voting in all the community. And now that I have the word, there is another parameter that I think that's interesting that Griff didn't discuss. It's the percentage in which the percentage of tokens that we distribute in the hatch and the percentage of tokens that we will distribute that will be available later. It's like because the bonding curve at the end, if we apply that bonding curve at the end, it will be in some way also there will be a point in which it's very difficult to get more tokens, to mint more tokens. So it's also a parameter that is important. How much tokens are we going to distribute to the hatchers in percentage?
Oh, Sem. Well, Sem, that'll be part of the upgrade decision, won't it? Well, here, I think Jess came in. Hey, Jess, the question was, well, actually, Zeptimus, you've been here the whole time. So, but I'll repeat the question for Jess. The question is, what will help influence your decisions the most for the hatch parameters? And what metrics are important? What will you look at when you're deciding which hatch parameters to choose? Zeptimus.
Yeah, thanks, Griff. I think in the same way as Libby, like all the parameters should have somewhere of connection, and those should be aligned with the mission and values of the project. So the parameters should help to reach those values and mission. And another thing, I don't understand why it's so important to reach that minimum goal. What happens if it's like we should can do nothing if we don't reach that minimum goal? I feel like, I don't know, it feels bad to you don't reach it and everything's gone. I don't know. And I'll pass it to Jess.
Hey, sorry I'm late. Another call went really long. And I'll be a slightly more passive here, but I wanted to listen in. I've also been going through this question in my mind, and I would I know we're not going to be doing a super thorough modeling, but I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit on that, because any kind of decisions we can make from data rather than just assumptions or, opinions, or some parameters I think are kind of more obvious than others. Like, for example, I've thought a few times some decisions could definitely affect our arrays, like even launching in 2 parts, it kind of came up. So I guess for me, definitely the mission and vision are very important, but I'm also kind of looking at what impact these decisions could have kind of socially or from maybe a cultural perspective, and the impact that it could have on I guess some of the other aspects. But yeah, I'm mostly still just sitting with this question a lot. Like, what are we really making this decision off of? And I think it is really important to question our assumptions as well. So again, looking forward to seeing what Sean can come up with, even though it won't be complete. So yeah, and I'll pass back to Griff or Jake.
Yeah, no, I'll take it. That's actually leads exactly what I wanted to talk about, was that YGG is very excited to help us do basic modeling. So we're not going to do, and for the Dandelion and Hatch, there really isn't a whole lot of agent-based modeling that even would have much effect. But just having a good spreadsheet, honestly, that when someone says, these are the parameters I'm choosing, kicks out certain metrics. It'll say, oh yeah, under these parameters, the minimum amount of time that we could upgrade to the ABC and conviction voting would be this. If the min raise is reached, then this much impact hours go to this person, this much cultural build tribute will go to people with impact hours. If we get double the min raise, then this much. If we get triple the min raise, then this much. And just like when someone comes in and proposes the hatch parameters, boom, they all get judged against the same metrics, so everyone can see how these parameters harmonize with each other. So once we have the test hatch and we get to give a full spec and really understand for certain what parameters we will need to decide for the test hatch or for the actual hatch, then we can start building some metrics that will give us a vision into what parameters really mean. But we have to figure out what those metrics are, and that's why I asked this question. So,
before we start, Griff, I think that I was disconnected during a little period of time, and I was talking alone because I guess, right? Or I was. Did you hear me or not? Oh, I'm so sorry. I was talking alone.
We heard you talk about something about the ABC. Well, I actually thought the parameters that you were talking about, like how many TEC tokens are given in the hatch versus like the shape of the curve for the ABC, and how many TEC tokens will be created later, and the governance difference between the hatchers and the people who buy in directly. I think that's where you're going, but I kind of thought that was more of an ABC parameter than a hatch parameter.
Okay. We can discuss it. It's fine.
Okay.
Because it's mostly the hatch, but it's because it's how much tokens are we going to distribute in the hatch. Yeah, let's discuss it in the next one.
Okay. So I hope you guys can see the agenda. Jake posted it in the general channel, and in it I have a list of parameters that are going to be part of the hatch and some that aren't part of the hatch because of the launching in two parts. So the parameters that we are not going to have in the hatch for sure are the open price. We won't know that until we upgrade to the bonding curve. The vesting cliff and vesting complete time period, that will be decided on by the DAO itself. And the number of Dandelion instances in the hatch Dandelion DAO that we create, there's really only need for one instance of the Dandelion voting app, because there's really one big decision that can change everything. So the Dandelion voting app will have, there's no point in having multiple. So there'll only be one for the initial hatch. But that one is God mode, right? Like it can send all the money to upgrade to any ABC conviction voting parameters that it likes, or it can send that money to get coin grants, or it can just burn it if they want. You know, it can do whatever it wants. So there are two parameters that we are still under discussion that may or may not be part of the hatch, and I'm excited to have some sense making in this call around it. But maybe I'll leave that for after I talk about what parameters will be in the hatch. So as mentioned, the C-stack ratio, which is how many C-stack tokens it takes to put DAI into the to the TEC. So is it like for every C-stack token you have, you can put in one DAI into the TEC? What? There's the hatch price, which is relatively irrelevant, I would say. It's like, for one DAI, do you get 1,000 TEC or do you get 0.0001 TEC? As Santi said, that has a powerful psychological effect. But in the end, we're upgrading, and every DAI is really just going to be mapped to any number of TEC. There's also the rescue multisig, which Sem mentioned and Tonga mentioned. There's the min goal, which is obviously very important. If we don't reach the min goal, then the return, then people get their money back. We'll talk about that. There's the time limit. How long do we want the hatch to be? And then there's the impact hours parameters, the slope and the max amount of impact hours possible, the max amount of DAI rate that's possible for impact hours. So those are the main hatch parameters. And then, of course, there's also the dandelion DAO parameters. Support required, quorum. Basically, hey, what are the parameters on God mode? How much consensus do we need? And how much time does it take to get that consensus? And the tollgate fee as well. Like, what does it cost to even propose a parameter to the DAO, or the parameters to the DAO? So those are the things that I want to make sure that we have a chance to discuss today, and I think we'll popcorn it. But first, since there's only 7 of us, I think we can do a couple rounds of sense making around the hatch tribute and the hatch return. The hatch tribute first. So we've been talking about this in legal, and I know Santi's up, and most of us were actually there, about when people send their money to the TEC during the hatch. And if we pass the min hatch goal, then people with impact hours will end up getting TEC. So that actually dilutes the holdings of the people who contributed TEC in the first place. So if you put in 100 DAI, you'll get 100 DAI worth of TEC. But then when we hit our min goal, now your TEC is no longer worth 100 DAI because other people just got TEC for free, and they all have equal claim over the money that's in this dandelion DAO. So now maybe your 100 DAI is worth 80 DAI. But we have another option. We can create the hatch tribute during this thing, which is a forced donation to TE public goods. So now, instead of it being just worth 80 DAI, maybe we already make the decision that, oh, the hatch tribute is going to send 40% to the conviction voting DAO, and this 80 DAI is worth even less. This 80 DAI worth of TEC is worth less. It's worth, I guess, $52 or $32. I don't know, whatever it is. 40% times that. So 32. So 60% times that. Anyway, it's 48. So question, should we impose the hatch tribute during the hatch, or should we wait and make that something that happens when we upgrade? I will pass it to Sam.
You are always passing it to me. I am going to pass it to, I don't know, Santi, and then I respond.
Okay.
This is a tricky question because there's 2 variables that we can play with: when we do it and how much is going to be the tribute. I understand there's going to be a tribute, period. So to me, it's more when we do it than the amount, because if we add at the very, or we have very close together the dilution because of the impact hours plus the tribute, I think it's in a way you may not realize which one is which. Okay, you see your initial amount 100 DAI and you end up with 60 DAI, which is a good thing because both parameters get mixed. If we don't have them together, you see that your DAI went from 100 to 80, and then all of a sudden they went to 60. What's going on here? I think it's more of a psychological thing, and we gotta be not careful. Careful is not the word, but we gotta think on that because it's important. And I would say, to me, I would prefer to have that sensation of losing value just once. But that's a personal opinion. I don't know about the rest. Okay, I'll pass it to Sam if he wants, or to Jake, whatever you guys decide.
I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Well, a lot of this, with this specific thing we're talking about, like what Santi bringing up, does fall back to the trusted seed a lot. If it's in a perfect world, if those are all the great people we want them to be, they're going to understand this. I mean, that's my opinion. I think they're going to understand this technical gap here, I guess. Now, as far as people coming in later on whoever they are, that psychological factor is going to be really big. So I guess it would be up to us on how we educate people on seeing these discrepancies, on why it might be there, because that psychological thing is a big deal. Because most people, unfortunately, is number go up, so they're not really going to understand why all of a sudden they lost something. But I mean, I think the trusted seed would, but so really, to me, some of those. It's just a matter of who do we have involved? Who is a C-stack token holder? All right, Santi. Sam, are you ready?
I mean, I'm ready, but I want to listen to Livia first, for example.
Okay, well, I'm going to pass it to Livia.
I feel like I have so many questions around this. First, I had the impression that launching in 2 parts would mean that the dandelion would decide about launching the bonding curve and conviction voting. So how would we put the hatch tribute before those decisions are made? Am I like totally off? I'm just confused about that.
No. Let me clarify. So basically, if we put the hatch tribute in here, this is where it is right now. Where in this picture, there's the reserve pool and the funding pool end up getting funded before we upgrade. And that means, and basically the people with TEC tokens, if they disagree with the upgrade, well, the money that they put into the funding pool and in the hatch tribute ends up being still there in the DAO. So if they contribute and then they're like, nah, I want out, well, it's a forced donation just by participating. If we do it later, then less money will be, then if people want to leave before the upgrade, they can get their money out minus the funds that went to the impact hours people. So, but by dilution.
Oh, okay. I see. Thank you. Yeah, I think if we inform this very well, that there is an amount going to the funding pool, I think it's even beneficial because it frames more into the like public good aspect of it rather than in the investment aspect. So I don't think people should be thinking that they are losing money. I think the framing and the narrative should be that they are investing in T public goods. That is the reason why they should be here in the first place. And I pass to Jess.
Yeah, I guess for me, yeah, I appreciate everybody saying so far, especially what Santi said. Psychology is really important because, and I guess I'm always thinking like a narratives perspective, it's a lot about perception. So it's, what is the truth? Just perception of people's standpoints.
Can you guys hear Jess?
No, it started to cut out.
Okay,
No.
I'll rephrase.
Sorry, Jess, we can't really hear you. Oh, she's gone. Well, I'll pass it to Zeptimus then.
Thank you, Griff. I still think it's very important, for example, Livia was saying, like, it's important to, like, the people we have, it's investing on the public goods, but at the same time I'm thinking, if we don't reach that minimum goal, it's not going to be any the public good. So I still think it's important to make them feel it's easy to join and leave if they don't like what they're seeing. But once they are in, they are going to investigate more and feel inside, and that would make them want to stay, because what we're doing is great. And I'll pass it to maybe Jess can talk or try again.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, great. I'm not sure how much you heard of the last thing I said, but yeah.
Loud and clear now.
Yeah, I was just saying I appreciate the different angles and viewpoints, and I especially think what Santi said is really important about the psychology, because what is the truth? It's mostly people's perception. So I think sometimes having that awareness of like how things could be perceived is really important. But as far as yeah, when and how much, I think we all are agreeing and are aligned around that this is meant to fund projects. So I think, I don't know if we could do like a little poll on the forum or something to like get a little more feedback from people, like maybe to the larger group, because this one is kind of important. It's like you're putting in, you know, X amount, like how much do you really expect that to be kind of like an investment versus are you just purely giving as a donation and you want it to go to projects? I don't know. It feels to me like somewhere down the middle is good, like a 50-50 or, but yeah, I think the timing is also going to be a huge part, but I guess I'm still kind of feel like I'm not quite caught up on all of the discussions. I just started watching the video yesterday, Jake, your last video. So maybe I'm not prepared to fully comment. So I'll think about it a little bit and then, but maybe I'm thinking like maybe a little, some polls in the forum around some of these ones that we really need the collective on versus like some that we can just make the decision and it's pretty obvious. Just a thought. So I'll pass back to Griff or Jake.
Sure, I mean, I can take it. Since Sim wanted to go last, he gets his wish. All right, but actually, this has been really informative, and it made me wonder if we couldn't just leave it as a parameter that we get to choose in the hatch, and we can make it bigger if we want in the ABC upgrade. So yeah, I kind of like this idea of it might be a choice of the parameter that we can just set to 0 if we want. And that's if that's voted on by the community to be the set of parameters. Say 0 goes to the second vault. That's irredeemable. That's guaranteed to go to the funding pool. And then if people are like, yeah, but we'd like a 5% tax on anybody who leaves, that just, you know, make sure that goes as a donation of public goods. Personally, I'm leaning more towards the 0% approach, or at least a really small percent, because of what Santi said and what was said in the last call around the lines of multiple taxes. You know, they already have to pay the cultural build tribute, which is, you know, basically their dilution of the TEC token to the people who built this. And that might, if we go too hard on them, it might just dissuade people from taking the risk in this DAO. So I lean more towards like leaving it in, but I would probably vote for a 0% hatch tribute. And I'll pass it to Jake. Did you go, Jake?
I went. It's Sim's turn.
Okay, cool.
He's got to go now.
Perfect.
Okay, I loved all the contributions because I wasn't thinking on many of the things that you said. I was just going to say, let's put it a 0 here because it's easier for the smart contracts. that's why I didn't want to go first. But the intuitions that I have is that we from Santi's intervention, I think that we have to be very clear on what are going to be the deductions of the people's money from the beginning. and it can be something that we show in the website. And how much are you giving? How much are you going to be able to withdraw in that point and in that other point? Something like a very clear thing on what you will be able to do, not only in the legal terms, but also in the interface. And that's one of the things. Like from the beginning, say you now have that, and that other thing is a donation. It's not something that I think that this was Livia that gave the idea of it's not actually something that you lose. It's something that you are donating. So the language here should be you are not losing money. You are donating to that great cause. So it's something that we can also communicate in that way. And from the smart contracts perspective, I think that we can go with what we already have, which can be set to 0% as Griff was saying, or we can put it whatever percent we want. And it's something that it's already done. It was not easier to put a 0 there. We can still go with whatever we want, and that's fine. And what I'm worried about is to make it very clear for people how much money they will be able to get at any point. And if they cannot get any money, we tell them that it's a donation, and thank you for donating that amount of money to the commons.
What will be cool is it'll be very obvious. If we hit the main goal, this is how much money their tokens are worth that they get. This is how much goes to the cultural build, the impact hours people, and this is how much goes to the funding pool, the future funding pool. And if we hit 2 times the main goal, their tokens will be worth more. That's one thing, one dynamic that's really cool with our hash parameters. Okay, I want to do a really quick round. This is like 30 seconds max, or I interrupt you. So quick sense making on hatch return. Background on hatch return is that if we don't hit our min goal, what happens to the money? There could be that the hatch tribute could be forced there, and then maybe it just gets donated to something, or maybe impact hours people could happen. 30 seconds, really quick. If we don't reach the min goal, what happens to the money that was put into the hatch? I'll pass it to Santi because I know he has a strong opinion.
To me, if we don't reach the goal, everyone that put in money gets his money back, and the impact hours get lost, and we don't get anything for our impact hours. And I'll pass it to.
I don't know who he passed it to. Let's go, Jake.
I don't know. I have lots of ideas, but the easiest, clearest thing to do is just give everybody back their money, and that's it. We're done. I don't really like it, but it's really the easiest way to go. It's the less friction. So okay, Livia.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of like trust, transparency, integrity, it's just giving everyone back. And I pass to Zep.
Oh fuck! I was muted. I was I was saying yeah, I think like the same of the rest. The money should be back to the one who put in there, and I'll pass it to Jess.
I just want to be contrarian now. I believe in giving everybody back their money, but maybe we have a 10% donation to like T Academy Gitcoin or Gitcoin. But that's a little self-serving, but I think a 10% donation could be really nice. And we can vote on it as a community where we want to give that money to. But I think, yeah. All right, I pass to Sam.
Okay, I think that I go with the majority here. I think that it's also interesting, but from the technical perspective, it will be much easier to. It's already done to refund everything. I don't know if you gain more support, yes, we can do that the other way. But I from my point of view, I go with the majority here.
I also go with the majority, although I do like the market. 5% goes to Gitcoin no matter what, and donate to the next Gitcoin round. I feel like that would be a good marketing approach, and we might gain more from it. But technical and cleanliness, we have enough complicated shit to explain, so probably less features, less is more. Okay, thank you for the sense making. And now let's talk about what parameters do people want to talk about. Does anyone have? We have 15 minutes, and I have all the parameters listed here to Jake's amazing work. Are there any parameters that people want to especially discuss?
I think we should talk about time limit.
Okay.
I think vote duration and how long these hatches are is a really big deal. I think we should talk about that.
That sounds great. Okay, so there's 2 time limits, and I'll do another quick round. That 30 seconds thing worked really well. So there's 2 time limits. There's the hatch time limit, which is like how long does it take? How long do we let people send money to this thing and get tokens for it? And then we stop and vote on parameters. So there may be, I want to say that if there are problems with smart contracts that require fixes, this like hatch time limit, and then there might be a gap that might be, who knows, because problems, right? And then upgrade, and then there's the voting time. So there's the dandelion vote proposal buffer, vote execution buffer, and voting time. So all of these things are in times, and let's do some sense making. So I'll pass it to you, Jake. What do you think about the timing?
Well, and also too, right there, just to finish him off too, you also have the alpha half-life. And that gets thrown in on how long we do with that too. That's set later, but
yeah,
that's set later, so it's not like right now or anything, but is also time. It's also part of the time. The point is, like he said, we have to have a minimum for in case there's technical problems, and whatever we can do best about that with the smart contracts in case something comes up. There's also the factor is the less time, we're not going to get as much as we can. If we go too long, we can just cause more problems that way as well. So it's going to be really difficult to kind of just set what really is the magic number here. And it's going to, unfortunately, probably take numerous hatches to really figure that out. So I personally, I think moving forward from here, we really just got to think about if things go wrong during a hatch, how long should people have as a buffer to make those right? What's the technical side? What's the minimum or honest time that these people need to fix something, and everybody can still have a clear hatch? And we kind of set our numbers based off of that. Okay, so say they need, I mean, I'm just throwing something out there, but say they need 4 days to fix contracts. Maybe then the actual vote duration should be 5 days. So we give everybody an extra one just in case. Nothing too special, nothing too much, but just kind of stick with the technical and base everything off of them.
Cool.
Okay. Sim.
I think that the hatch period should depend on the communications point of view. So I would like to hear Jessica specifically Jessica in that one, because it's going to be the hatch campaign or the fundraising campaign. And the other amount of time, it's how much do we need people to put their vote on. And I think that it can be typical Dandelion voting of 1 week. The thing is that we can say that in the first time we can say that we are raising money, and in the second time we can also do another communication that it's we are opening the bonding curve. So we are doing the ICO, the beginning. We are doing we are launching the token in the market in the second moment. I pass it to Jess.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. I guess my first instinct is to say 2 weeks to let people buy in to the hatch, 1 week for a pause for like tech fixes and everything, and then 1 week for the voting. So a total of 1 month. But yeah, I also am kind of like, for me, it's more important how much time we have from when the app is ready to go, and communications and being able to provide like videos for onboarding materials and like the email campaigns, which can be hustled together pretty quick. But I would ask for maybe at least 3 to 5 days between when the hatch app, you guys are like saying green light, to when we actually do the hatch. I think we need at least, I mean, a week would be great. 3 days would be pushing it. Like 5, okay, we could probably, you know, cram it together if we every day hustle on only focusing on that. So to me, the time before the in between the tech and the hatch is actually the most important from a comms perspective, I think, and onboarding. With that, I'll pass to Livia.
Yeah, I support Jess on sides there. And I pass to Tonga.
Hey guys. Yes, I personally am not very interested in the parameters if the foundations are not clear. It's like I feel like it's being avoided and it's a very important topic. So I wanted to propose. That's why I left the call, because for me it makes no sense to discuss the parameters before discussing the multisig and what the multisig is going to be able to do and all the stuff. For me, it goes the other way. First the basis, and then you can build on top. So I wanted to propose a meeting for discussing all the multisig related stuff. If any of you want to join, obviously, or if you agree or not. Maybe I'm not seeing things clear, but yeah, I don't want to. If this is going to be a project that is like, I don't know, I am working every day. I like to come to the meetings. I like all of you, but I think that stuff has to be clear. Shouldn't be avoided anymore. So yeah, up to you. If you guys want, you can message me on on Discord, and we can schedule a meeting about it. Or yes, that's what I think. So yeah.
Yeah, we can have a TEC. Sorry,
We
Sam.
can talk about it. Yeah, I did an moment.
I want to. I don't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to keep going with the round. And I'll take it really quick. I agree that it's the hatch period is really on comms to decide. Although it is something that, or at least I will vote. Like Jess's vote will be extremely influential on. In the end, we will have a decision process around picking these parameters, and this will be one of them. So it is a community decision, but obviously Jess's voice will be the loudest. And I think 2 weeks is good too. I would agree with that. And as far as like that middle term for fixing bugs, we can't set that. That's just going to be like, if Sam says, no, it's not safe to upgrade for 10 months, then it's not safe to upgrade it for 10 months. I mean, there's nothing we can do. We're just screwed. I imagine that won't be the case. That's why I'm hustling their smart contracts frozen so that we can have major code reviews before before the launch, but it is what it is. And then for the voting time, I don't think we need a week. I feel like most of the debate will happen through soft governance on the forums, so that we can come to a consensus, and that actually the dandelion vote should be something that is just like bureaucratic execution, confirmation of what the consensus is. But we'll see. So I imagine like the 7-day window for it is good. I'll pass it to Zep.
Thanks, Griff. Yeah, I think as everyone, like, Jess is who understands the most. So what she says is like going to be loud. I also think it's important like to have some time to people to like maybe some people who wants to invest is who have a lot of sophisticated tokens. Maybe he don't is like is not super involved in the project right now, and maybe he needs to some time to read everything. And I think 1 month should be cool. So since we have only one shot, it's good to be able to onboard people and don't miss anyone. But yeah, well, that's my opinion, and I think I was the last.
Oops, did Santi go?
I still have to go.
Oh, sorry, Santi.
No problem. Thank you, Septimus. I agree with Griff about the technical stuff. There's no way we can put some time there because we don't know what's going to happen, and whatever it happens, we'll have to wait till it gets fixed. So I wouldn't discuss on that. I think 2 weeks is good, but I also want to hear Jess, because there's the Me Too effect. If some of us start investing, we publish it on social media sites. There's momentum coming in, and people who may be thinking about it after seeing all the impact from all of us communicating that we're putting money here and investing in this great project and so on. It maybe 2 weeks. It's not big enough to get that effect, okay? But that's something that Jess probably knows more than me. And for the voting, at most a week. I agree. Just 1 week should be more than enough. I don't know who's coming next.
I think that's everyone.
Can I
yeah.
share one more thought? Maybe actually thinking about it, there could be research out there because there's been so many ICOs and so many raises. Maybe there's research related to what is like the most efficient time limit. Maybe just do some research if everybody wants to see if we can find anything. Maybe there's data to help us.
The only thing though, Jessica, is we have so many variables that it would really make that kind of difficult, where a majority of those OEOs, hey, send all your F here, and then we drop you all these tokens afterwards. Like it's really going to be hard to kind of to see where that is. I mean, like even EOS, who had a year, and they had kind of an intricate ICO because they had all these tokens that they would release only so much at a certain time based off of your donation in, and I mean, there's stuff to look up, but we have so many other factors that I think it's going to be really difficult to pinpoint what would be a time or what wouldn't be a good time.
You're right. Yeah. But yeah, Santi, I'm on the verge too of like, is 2 weeks enough? But yeah, we can keep thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. We're at the top of the hour. I really appreciate this sense-making time. Tonga, we will definitely talk multi-sig and its powers and whether or not it should be there. I think that's a discussion that's worth having. I imagine we can set it up big. Yeah.
I would really like everybody, because we didn't get to it, the impact hours, because we have new variables, new questions, and there's a lot more to understand about impact hours. So, yeah, whether we have another call or in your own time, please look at these things so you kind of get more of an understanding of what's going on. Because now we actually have an equation, and we got a graph we can play with, and we got a lot more going forward with this, which will be big too with comms when we're educating new people about coming in, like onboarding and whatnot, about how this works, what you can, what this community can do. So, yeah, And have a great day. And thank you for coming. Have a great day. And thank you for coming.